Hello from 2FA Gaming and welcome to my first tutorial video. Being my first, you'll have to cut me some slack if it's a bit clumsy in places. I've watched plenty of tutorials myself and thought, gee, this guy's no good, but when you try and do it yourself, you'll find out it's a lot harder than you first think. The Fall Guys game is taking the world by storm right now, and I couldn't resist the urge to play around with the little guys to see if I could make some custom skins to them. You've probably already seen some of the cheats and hacks in the game, which I don't condone or use, but having some fun with custom skins never hurt anyone. To start with, you'll need to be familiar with Blender 2.8 and have either Photoshop or a similar program to let you customize images. In the description you'll find a link to Asset Studio, which is a program that gives you access to assets made with Unity 3D. The link I've used should always take you to the latest version, but if not, double check just in case. Once you've downloaded the zip file, open it and extract its contents. I've already set up a folder on the desktop for it, just to keep it tidy. It's probably a good time to mention that I've also set up a new folder on my desktop called Fall Guy Assets, which is where I'll export all my assets to. Open the folder where you had the Asset Studio downloaded, and open the exe file which has the AS logo on it. Your security program or Windows may have an alert pop up at this point. I ignore it to continue, but it's for you to decide if you're comfortable doing that. Go to File, and then we will load Folder, selecting the location of the game from the File Explorer. For most of you, the file path will be on the C drive. Mine being full, I've installed Steam on the D drive. Open the Steam folder, then Steam Apps, Common, Fall Guys Client Data, and then click the Select Folder button. Asset Studio will now do its thing. While you're waiting, click on the asset list, and after a minute or so, depending on your PC, you'll have a long list of everything in the Fall Guys game. Click on Type to group everything together, making files a lot easier to find. We're looking for Animator, which contains the parts of the models rigged for movement. This won't show in the preview image, but while I'm here I'll also get the separate mesh files and the 2D texture files, which I may use for other things down the track, which do come up in the preview, in case you only want to export a particular asset. A quick way to just get characters is to type in CH into filter, as the player parts and skins have the CH prefix in their file name. If you do this, you'll need to separately find the body file, which doesn't have the CH prefix. Left click the first item, scroll down to the last you want, and hit Shift while using left mouse click to select them all in one go. You will need to choose a folder to export them to, which is why I'd set up one on the desktop earlier. They will now be exported there, and once completed it will open up a window with that folder. And here you can see all the 2D texture files as PNG images. Now I'll do the same with the mesh and animator folders. This is where I couldn't think of what to say to fill in the time. With that done, you can close all that down and open up Blender. If you want to make a posable model for a thumbnail or animation, import the FBX file. If you only want a mannequin to try on a new skin, you can import the OBJ file, which is a static mesh only. I won't go into detail with how to use Blender. I'm assuming at this stage you know how to navigate around it. If not, there are plenty of tutorials online. I've only been using it for 6 months to get to the stage I'm at now. One thing I do often forget though is to hit Z or Z for our American viewers to select Material Preview, instead of wondering why the textures haven't loaded. You will notice how small the model is. It's a lot easier to work on in a larger scale. When you reach the limit of the zoom, it can disappear on you when you get too close. Start by turning off the visibility of the mesh. There are 2 rigs underneath, one from the bottom, one from the top, overlapping each other. Select one in pose mode and move something so you can see the other rig, then with both highlighted you can scale them up, allowing you to zoom out as well. Join both skeletons together by using Ctrl J. Now we have to remove one without its associated mesh. In object mode, select the skeleton icon, that's what I call it, and you'll see root and root 001. Click on root 001, then tab into edit mode. Select similar suffix, then X confirming to delete bones. Then go across and delete GEO 001. You've now got a model you can pose, so I'll move a couple things to demonstrate. But when putting the mesh back on, you can see only the foot has moved. Depending on which skeleton you deleted, either the top or bottom won't move with the skeleton, until you select both top and bottom mesh, Control J to join, and then we're all good. Well, we're all good if you don't mind not having a face. There may be a more efficient way to do this, but all I've worked out for now is to import the body OBJ file, scale it to suit, then select multiple faces with the Control and plus key. Then you can duplicate and separate by selection, which then lets you delete the original full body. Then move the torso into place, so now you have a face. To give the face some colour, go into the 2D texture files in our desktop folder, using the MSK image as a starter, which I assume stands for mask. Now the fun begins with customising the colour scheme. Using Photoshop, open up the same file as before. I'll do a couple of quick mods and then save it under a new file name. I've also made a new folder called mod files, so I have them all together. The 2D texture for the body is a bit more complicated, as it's a mirror image when on the mesh, so you have to be careful what you place where, as graphics will be correct on one side but reversed on the other. You have to use a bit of trial and error sometimes to see where the texture is laid out on the mesh, and I use a system of file names so I can quickly swap between Blender and Photoshop with, knowing which is the newer and the older version. Starting with body 1 for example, my next change is body 1.1, then 1.2, but rather than keep going higher in numbers, I'll cycle through the 3 versions again, saving the newer file over the old. I'm no expert with animation yet, but it's possible to create an emote or movement using keyframes if you want to make an animated video rather than just a posed model. With that all done, it's ready to render and use as you choose. As long as you're not breaking any EULA agreements, of course. Now, how do you get your customized character in-game? Well, that will be the subject of another video in the future. I hope that all made sense. Please like, share and subscribe, and you'll get to see more cosmetic game mods in the future from 2FA Gaming.